Hey, welcome back to another Work in Progress Wednesday, the semi-regular series where I open up my DAW and we take a look at one of my ongoing projects. It's been a while since we've done one of these, so I thought we could open up Cubase and take a look at a track that is in draft status right now. Before we even jump in, I think it's good to acknowledge that I'm assuming that if you're watching this, you're into music production and you are familiar with the things that I'm talking about. But if that's not the case, then the question is, what even is a DAW? Well, a DAW or a DAW is a digital audio workstation. And this is a piece of software that will allow you to compose, score, record, manipulate audio, produce, mix, and master music. So basically everything that has to do with getting an idea from your head out into the world to be consumed by others in a way that's different than just playing it live, I guess. So when I'm talking about my DAW, I'm talking about Cubase, which is my weapon of choice. There are a number of these products out on the market. People have opinions and preferences, but they're all doing the same thing at the end of the day. So at the moment, I'm working on a collection of pieces which are a little bit darker in nature, action-oriented, still within the fantasy realm. The one that we've got going here is quite lively. It's got a nice fast tempo of 160 BPM, but I wouldn't call it a jaunty number. It is still a bit darker. Let's take a quick listen to what we've got so far. Right, so a bit of a Witcher vibe. It's a little bit Slavic in feel. It's got a lot of layers of stringed instruments and a really cool 5/4 time signature, which I always love. So the piece goes on into a quieter section before it loops back to the beginning. All right, so that's more or less the piece. It was pretty much there. I do need to tighten up one or two things yet. So what was quite interesting here from a compositional perspective is that I kind of ended up on this diminished A chord here. So we can talk about diminished chords for a second. Diminished chords are super cool because they can help you get out of a jam. They can help you get from point A to point B, or C or D or E. That is to say, they resolve in a ton of different ways. So in this case, I ended up on a diminished A chord and needed to get back to D. And unfortunately, that is not one of the ways that diminished chords resolve. It's not terrible, but it was really rubbing me the wrong way. So I wasn't quite sure if I should change things around a bit earlier in the piece so that I would end up on like a diminished C sharp, which would lead quite nicely back to the D. So what I ended up doing actually was just extending the piece a little bit longer and going from that diminished A chord down to a diminished G, which leads us nicely back to D. And the reason that works so nicely is that if you take any of the notes in the diminished chord and move it up one semitone, it resolves. It resolves. And what's even cooler than that is that a diminished chord that gets resolved can resolve to either a minor or a major chord, which is really useful in this case because I was being pretty flexible with the third of the D chord in this song. Namely, I was sometimes using the minor and sometimes using the major. In the melody, you can hear it. So minor, but then I go up to the major. And then back down to the minor. So it's, what's actually going on is that I'm relying on both the G minor and G harmonic minor sounds So you have the raised and flat seventh in there, and I'm just kind of using them interchangeably throughout the piece. And the cool thing about this kind of music is that you can use a lot of chromatic notes, a lot of borrowed chords to keep it fresh and interesting. Let's take a listen to that ending part again so you can hear it going from the diminished A to the diminished G back to D. This is A. Gives it such a nice punch to go back to the start when it resolves nicely. From a production point of view, I put these like evil sounding witch voices in. It sounds something like this. This is just from a vocal pack, and then I put a bunch of effects on top of it. They sound cool. Whether I'll keep them in for the final version or not, not quite sure yet. Depends a bit on how well it's serving the song. But yeah, it's like a fun little thing in the background. Cool, let's stop it there for right now. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.